In June 2022, the Supreme Court handed down a landmark decision in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, Inc. v. Bruen. This case fundamentally reshaped the landscape of gun rights in America. The court struck down New York's restrictive may-issue permitting system for concealed carry. Such systems gave state officials broad discretion to deny permits based on subjective judgments of need. The court ruled that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to carry a handgun outside the home for self-defense. This decision has had significant implications for states like Maryland, which previously maintained similar restrictive good and substantial reason requirements for handgun permits. Maryland, once known for its stringent gun control measures, has had to adapt to this new legal reality. The Bruen decision effectively rendered Maryland's previous good and substantial reason standard unconstitutional. Lawmakers were compelled to revise the state's handgun permitting process. Maryland transitioned to a shall-issue system. This shift means that if an individual meets the state's objective requirements for a handgun permit, authorities are obligated to issue it. This change represents a significant departure from Maryland's historical approach to gun regulation. The Bruen decision has not eliminated all gun control measures in Maryland. The state still maintains certain restrictions and regulations related to firearms. However, the ruling has undeniably shifted the balance. It reaffirms the Second Amendment's protection of an individual's right to bear arms for self-defense outside the home. This decision continues to have ripple effects across the nation. It prompts ongoing legal challenges and legislative responses as states grapple with its implications. Navigating Maryland's firearm regulations requires a clear understanding of the state's specific requirements. Before purchasing a handgun in Maryland, individuals must obtain a Handgun Qualification License, or HQL. The process involves submitting an application to the Maryland State Police, undergoing fingerprinting, and passing a background check. This license serves as a prerequisite for purchasing, renting, or receiving a handgun in the state. It reflects Maryland's efforts to regulate handguns specifically, given their association with crime. Carrying a handgun in Maryland is subject to strict regulations, even after the Bruen decision. Open carry of handguns generally remains prohibited, with a few exceptions. These exceptions include transporting a handgun to or from a place of purchase, a shooting range, or a hunting location, provided the firearm is unloaded and properly secured. Concealed carry, on the other hand, is permitted with a Maryland Wear and Carry Permit, or WCHP. However, obtaining a WCHP involves meeting specific requirements and undergoing mandatory training, as detailed in the following section. Maryland law enforcement officers generally uphold these firearm regulations diligently. They recognize the importance of responsible gun ownership and public safety. While the Bruen decision has prompted changes in Maryland's permitting process, the state remains committed to enforcing its gun laws. Residents and visitors alike are expected to familiarize themselves with these regulations to ensure compliance and avoid potential legal consequences. Maryland's approach to firearm regulation reflects a balance between respecting Second Amendment rights and addressing public safety concerns. Obtaining a Maryland Wear and Carry Permit, or WCHP, requires navigating a multi-step process. Applicants must meet several eligibility criteria, including being at least 21 years old, a resident of Maryland, and not prohibited from possessing a firearm under state or federal law. Furthermore, applicants must demonstrate a good and substantial reason to carry a handgun. This typically involves showing a credible threat to their safety that cannot be adequately addressed by other means. The application process for a WCHP is thorough and involves several components. Applicants must complete a firearms training course that meets the state's requirements. This course typically covers topics such as handgun safety, handling, storage, Maryland law, and live fire shooting exercises. Additionally, applicants must submit fingerprints, undergo a background check, and provide character references. The Maryland State Police review each application carefully to ensure that applicants meet the necessary criteria. Upon approval, the WCHP allows individuals to carry a concealed handgun in Maryland. However, it's essential to remember that this permit does not grant unrestricted carry rights. Certain locations remain off-limits even with a WCHP. These include schools, hospitals, government buildings, and establishments that serve alcohol. Additionally, permit holders must adhere to all other applicable state and federal firearm laws, such as transportation and storage regulations. Maryland's self-defense laws incorporate the duty to retreat principle. This means that individuals facing a threat must generally attempt to retreat from the situation if it's safe to do so before resorting to lethal force. However, the Castle Doctrine provides an exception to this rule. This doctrine recognizes an individual's right to defend themselves without retreating if they are lawfully present in their home, vehicle, or place of business, and reasonably believe they are in imminent danger of death or serious bodily harm. Maryland does not recognize handgun permits from other states. This lack of reciprocity means that individuals with concealed carry permits from other jurisdictions cannot legally carry their firearms in Maryland unless they obtain a WCHP. It's crucial for gun owners to be aware of this restriction, as transporting or carrying a firearm in violation of Maryland law can result in severe penalties. In conclusion, navigating Maryland's gun laws requires careful attention to detail and a thorough understanding of the state's specific requirements. The information provided here serves as a starting point, but it's essential to consult with legal professionals or the Maryland State Police for comprehensive guidance. Remember, responsible gun ownership involves not only knowing your rights, but also understanding and adhering to all applicable laws. Prioritize firearm safety and seek professional training to ensure the safe handling and storage of firearms. For those seeking comprehensive firearms training and consultation in Maryland, consider reaching out to Safety First Firearms Training and Consultants.